Yeah. Hello, everyone. Hello, Dr. Anand. Hello, Ruchi.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Happy Republic Day to you all.
आप सबको भी मुबारक हो.
बहुत मुबारक हो सर.
Good
जो
evening,
बच्चा है जितना
everyone.
बच्चा है सर वो मुबारक हो. It's difficult to be very positive in the climates like this. So I try to be. I think I try to remain positive about the nation and the constitution.
Sir, we'll wait for 2 more minutes
All right.
for people to join, and then we'll.
And I mean first I'm sorry I'm logged in with some other name. It's my friend's laptop. My laptop went kaput in the afternoon, so I thought it's better to log in from someone else's laptop than the phone, and I really don't know how to change that. So
It's
I'm
okay.
sorry
Sir.
about that.
इसको हटा देना.
I figured out.
स्वयं होस्ट बनाना सर को.
Hello Sonali. Hello Akhil.
Oh, hello, Dr. Anand. How are
Hello,
you?
sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Hello, Tanvir, sir. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you, Sonali?
I'm great. I'm great.
Very
It's such a pleasure to have you with us.
The honor is all mine. It's all my honor. I'm really happy to be here.
That's great. Thank you.
Is my camera a little weird?
No,
it-
I think it's good. It's
Okay.
yeah, it's not odd.
I'm seeing myself in black and white. Not that I'm complaining, but
No, sir, we can see you in color.
all right. Thank you.
Sir, we will wait for 5 minutes. Let participants join. Anas sir, can we start the program? Like participants will continue joining. We can start the program.
We can start.
Okay. A very good evening to everyone present here on the Patriotic Day. On the, be- on the behalf of NSS unit of KPB Hinduja College,
अरमान को
I, Sayam Kumarji, wish you a happy Republic Day and welcome you all for today's.
संयम
हाँ,
म्यूट पे चला गया
yeah, Sayam, you're on mute. Sorry.
Sorry, ma'am. A very good evening to everyone present over here on the Patriotic Day. On the behalf of NSS unit of KPB Hinduja College of Commerce, I, Sayam Kumarji, wish you a very Republic Day and welcome you all for today's webinar on communal harmony and constitution in collaboration with Public Concern for Governance Trust, Student Council and Cultural Committee. I would like to commence this special day with the quote of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. Cultivation of mind should be the ultimate aim of human existence. Now, I would like to request everyone to stand up for national anthem. I would request technical team to start the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंच पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
It's our honor to have you with us, Chairman Emeritus Mr. Julio Ribeiro, Chairman Mr. VP Raja. The basic objective of PCGT is to strive for good governance in the city of Mumbai. PCGT has initiated the Youth for Governance program to sanitize the youth on issue of governance and to develop the leadership skill, especially in public activities. With this, I would like to welcome our principal, Meenu Madlani ma'am, and our NSS program officer, Dr. Gayatri Agarwal ma'am, and Ms. Shenaz Naskani ma'am. I would like now to extend our invite to Vice Principal of Aided and Unaided Section, Teaching and Non-Teaching Staff, PCGT representative, students, and NSS volunteers. Now, I would like to invite our program officer, Ms. Shenaz Naskani ma'am, to share few words.
Thank you, Sayam. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Happy Republic Day to one and all present here virtually. I, Professor Shehnaz Naskani, on behalf of NSS Unit and Students Council Committee of KPB Hinduja College of Commerce, would like to welcome our speaker for the day, Advocate Anas Tanveer sir, Dr. R.K. Anand, and all the representatives of PCGT and all my dear students for this webinar. This webinar has a very apt theme of communal harmony and constitution, which is the need of the hour. Communal harmony is a prerequisite for a country like India with its diverse population and culture. At the outset, I would like to thank our esteemed speaker for the day for sparing his valuable time from his busy schedule. Thank you so much, sir. I welcome you to this virtual meet. Thank you for sparing your time, sir. Over to you, Sayam.
Thank you, Shenaz ma'am. It's great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker for the day, Advocate Anas Tanveer. He is advocate on record at Supreme Court. He has 10 years of practice in human rights law. He is also the founder of ICLU, a collective that aims to fight hate, mongering, discrimination, and corruption. One of the many highlights of his outstanding career is, is his role in the drafting of model law against mobilizing. He has been fighting citizens' cases since 2014, and in 2019, he, with his ICLU team, was one of the earliest to reach Assam, provided free legal advice aided to the people, those who could not make it to final list of the Assam. He is also known for providing legal aid to the victims of domestic violence. And Esther is also known for going beyond the professional commitment to help the society and the common people. With this brief introduction, I would like to welcome my esteemed speaker for today's webinar to address the crowd. Over to you, sir. Now, I would like to invite PCGT Executive Mr. Akil to take this session ahead.
Oh, thank you, Sayam. I thank all of you who have joined in today on the occasion of the 73rd Republic Day of India, where we have a very special speaker, Mr. Anas, who will be talking to us about communal harmony and hate speeches. A republic consisting of almost every major religion in the world takes upon itself the responsibility of maintaining amity between each and every religious community. The motto of follow one, respect all, and hate none must be engraved in each of our hearts, if we want our nation to soar towards success. This session would proceed in a question and answer format where Advocate Anas would be answering and explaining questions posed by me so that all of us leave today with a better sense of understanding of the importance of communal harmony and a sense of oneness running through our veins. Without further ado, I welcome Advocate Anas Tanveer.
Thank you, Akhil. Thank you for that. And thank you, Simon, as well. Happy Republic Day to all of you. I'm here before you all. I'm here on a very a day where we must all think about what all went into drafting of that constitution that brought us together. And despite so many attack on the principles of the constitution, things that it holds dear, it still remains strong and it still provides and instills a sense of justice in us. Second.
So without wasting any further time, I would like to go into asking questions to Advocate Anas so that we all are enriched with his presence. So the first thing I would like to ask is, where does one draw the line between free speech and hate speech? So when does a speech or a set of statements descend into hate speech where one cannot defend it in the name of free speech?
See, first of all, we need to understand that the free speech concept in India that the constitution provides has I will say way too many embargoes on it or exceptions to it. But that is the law. That is what it is. That is how it has always been. The exceptions were necessary in a country like India because there are so many religion, there are so many beliefs that people hold dear, that people hold sacred. And it was also necessary for law and order. It was also necessary for public health. You cannot go on and say that, Corona doesn't kill you, because it does. So things like that, it was necessary to have, circumscribe the freedom, not make it absolute, but have it reasonable. So what we have is a reasonable freedom of speech. Now, I simply say that your freedom ends where my nose begins. It's as simple as that. This is the principle, that if your speech is going to harm me or is going to put me in danger, then that speech is not protected by the free speech doctrine. Now that danger, that threat should obviously not be flimsy, should obviously not be, I should not be too sensitive, but sensitive enough for as a reasonable man. And my sensibilities are protected by the constitution. Having said that, it does not also mean that criticism of government should fall under the exception, or criticism of what is happening, what is wrong, should fall under that exception. So for example, if there is any religious practice also that is impinging on anyone's fundamental right, then it cannot be protected, or such utterances of those even if it's a religious scripture, cannot be protected under the free speech. So basically, the freedom is not absolute. There is a clear categorization of hate speech. I will still say that there is a lot more to be done on that account, but yet IPC makes under 153A 295 makes it a crime that if I am saying anything, or 121, that if I say anything that incites communal disharmony, or if it incites violence against any protected group or minorities or anyone, or incites violence against the state, in that case, it is not protected. And I believe this is for now, this is the right approach of the law also, and the necessity of the society.
I think on this issue, we must talk about what happened at Haridwar. So for all the viewers who do not know what happened at the Haridwar Sansad, I'd request Advocate Anas to shed a light on what exactly happened over there and what were the constitutional provisions which were violated.
So last month in Haridwar, a Dharm Sansad was called. It was called by people like Yati Nrsimhanan, other people claiming to be Sant. And in that Dham Sansad, there was an oath taken to eliminate Muslims from India, to wage war against Muslims in India, to take up weapons against Muslims in India. And they did not stop there. They exhorted and incited our armed forces to participate in killing of Muslims. They asked Hindus to take up arms. Now, this incident was not reported in any media. Until unless, thanks to the effort of a fact checker called Zubair, who works with the Alt News, he brought those, and local stingers who brought these speeches to light. It was amplified on social media and a pressure was built. And despite outrage, police took a month to arrest someone like Swami Yati Nrsimhanan. So this is where we have come, that such utterances are not only condoned but promoted if they come from a certain quarter. Now, the fact that the police did not take any action, I mean, there was a follow-up video where these people who are accused of inciting violence went and met a senior police officer, and they were laughing with him and saying कि आप हमारे साथ रहेंगे. There was a part where one sadhvi, purported sadhvi, says कि हम बस आपसे चाहते हैं कि आप निष्पक्ष रहें. That is, we just want you to be impartial. To which this Yati Nrsimhanan says, why will he be impartial? He'll be on our side. And then they had a good laugh. And this is happening in the office of a senior police officer in Uttarakhand. So when state starts condoning such speeches, it does not remain something coming from a fringe, or it does not remain something only, I mean, can we call it a hate speech? This is a call for genocide. This is a clear-cut call for genocide. I was in a panel recently with the founder of Genocide Watch, Mr. Gregory Stenton. And he said that India is there is an impending genocide in India of Muslims. And this is the man who has predicted at least 2 or 3 genocides in past, including the genocide in Rwanda. He has done his study. He's not just some person claiming this on basis of hearsay. He has done his study, and this is what on 26 January 2022 we are discussing, that there is an impending genocide, and everyone is silent. The media is silent, and maybe these are all fears. Maybe you can call these people fringe, but shouldn't steps be taken to protect this? Shouldn't steps be taken to avert this? And none of that is happening. It took, I mean, Yati Nrsimhanan was arrested not for hate speech initially, but for his comments against women, against BJP politicians, where he called them, where he claimed that the female politicians in BJP rise only because they're easy, to use a better term, for want of a better term. So this is where we stand today. And those speeches, they violated if I speak as a lawyer, I speak as a Muslim, they violated my right to life. It was a threat. This is leak constitution. This is criminal under IPC. This is a crime under international conventions. If something, and please understand that genocide does not start with killing. It starts with the speeches. It always starts with speeches. It starts with discrimination. It starts with othering of the others, or finding an enemy where there is none. And we have crossed those stages. We have crossed the stage where media is ready, and not just ready, willing to castigate a Muslim community for acts that they may not even have done. So yes, that speech should shake our conscience, should push us up from our stupor. And it will be for you all to take up the battle. Because in a democracy, it is the duty of the majority to protect the minority. The constitution stands on that promise. Otherwise, it only becomes democracy. It becomes a majoritarian rule. And this is the distinction between democracy and majoritarian rule. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think it's important to note how you said that genocide initially begins with a set of speeches and not when a person actually gets killed or the killing actually starts. So before we get to what we can do, to maintain communal harmony in such situations, what do you think is the role of the government in this case? Because do you think their silence instills confidence in such perpetrators?
Of course it does. Of course it is. See, a person will not utter such words, will not speak such things if he is not confident that he will be protected. This confidence leads to violence. Before Delhi violence of 2020, there was a similar Dham Sansad organized in Delhi by almost the same set of people. We have seen that this speech by this person leads to violence. Yati is a man who charged a 14-year-old kid, a 14-year-old Muslim kid, for drinking water from the temple. And people like him, who should be behind bars, who is behind bars, I don't know for how long. But these people like this have no place in society. And every time the government is silent, it embodies them, it gives them courage that they can do this and get away with it. And the question should be asked that why is the government silent? The state has a duty to protect. And if the state fails to do that duty, the only thing that it results in is anarchy. And anarchy doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help anyone from majority. It doesn't help a businessman. It doesn't help anyone at all. So this silence emboldens them. This silence is not just looking the other way. This is silence, is complicity. And I mean, why should police take so much time to register FIR in an incident like this? When this was all out in open, the permission was given, the event was perhaps attended by police officers. There must have been security. It is the duty of the police to register FIR in such cases. It is, they don't have to investigate even. If they have this information, they have to register FIR. That is the law. But they failed to do that. And it was only after a mass outrage, when the matter went internationally. None of us like that this issue went internationally. None of us like that our country is seen in this light. But we have to ask this question, why it has come to this? Why it has come to this, that after every time there's a violence against Muslim, we start tagging international authorities or international voices on Twitter? Why did it take a Mia Khalifa to speak on farmers' protest? The state cannot look the other way. The state cannot be complicit in crime. This omission is commission. So, yes.
Yeah, and we also see that, it's apparent that the government is adopting double standards when it comes to hate speeches or sedition laws, how they remain silent when such an issue takes place, but they are very proactive when it comes, like when there's an instance of a stand-up comedian being in the jail for such a long time for reportedly or like not even saying his intended lines on stage. So do you think this too is very problematic, that the government is adopting double standards?
Of course, it is problematic. See, in the case of Munawar Faruqi, We assisted him, we represented his friends who were arrested with him. And he had not even cracked that joke. He had not even cracked that joke. But what transpired after that? He was arrested. It took Supreme Court to release him on bail. And after that, what happened? Because the state has shown that he can be targeted, he was targeted. His shows were cancelled from Mumbai to other places. He announced his retirement, he's back, that's a different story altogether. But this is what happens. You push, once you are biased, you push a certain voices from the minority community to in a backdrop. You push them back. You don't listen to them. And once part of society is silenced, it becomes easier to kill them. So when we talk about hate speech is not only saying things that are hateful, but also not letting the voice of reason to come back. To stifle that voice is also a violation of my freedom of speech. And by such actions, the state stifles the voice. There are 18 people, popularly known as Delhi 18, in jail today. If you see their speeches, none of them call for violence. Like, I don't want to name because the matter is sub judice. One person who is in jail, who's called termed to be the main accused, he said that if we will hold the constitution close to our heart, and when they will hit us with the stick, we'll hold the flag to defend us. We'll hold the tricolor to defend us. This person is now accused under UAP, while someone like Yati is under light charges. The offenses have been diluted while there was a call for killing. And it was just, and this is not just one incident. Haridwar Dharm Sansad is just one example. There have been repeated utterances from schools, from colleges, from places where, from your parks. There have been 2 incidents of oath that came to our notice in Chhattisgarh, where people took oath that they will boycott Muslims. In Maharashtra, there is a law against that. Other states don't have that, and I congratulate the Maharashtra government for that. There's a law against ostracization, which is absent in other states. But it has, that silence, that partiality, that bias, all that has enforced that today. I was moments before this, I sent a 26 January video to certain friends, and one of them was an officer, and he was like, "Ki aayega to Yogi hi," and I cannot believe that you say that there's a bias against, there's a discrimination against Muslims, and even in COVID, no one died. So to that extent, people are brainwashed. That brainwashing has happened because the media has been used in this manner. And there have been hate speeches from TV. I am one of the lawyer in a case where Sudarshan, against Suresh Chavanke and Sudarshan, where they telecasted a show calling UPSC Jihad, when around 30 plus Muslims got selected in UPSC. That matter remains pending in Supreme Court, and Supreme Court had stopped the broadcast of that specific show. This hate is coming from your TV. The Tablighi Jamaat was castigated in the first wave. All of them were acquitted. The courts repeatedly said that they did no wrong. And yet for months we saw visuals. And even today, if you analyze the news, most of the news of COVID infection has a picture of a Muslim displayed, taking a booster, taking a shot, or being tested, or just like that. This is a very subtle indoctrination. This is subtle injection of hate. That, okay, these are the people who spread corona. There were stories that were created without evidence and telecasted on prime time. All of this is happening because the state is silent, the state is biased. State is not silent, the state is promoting. So yes.
Yes, coming to talk more about the media and how they play a role in what goes on in the country. I would like you to talk about the Sully deals and the Bulibai case, which was brought to the forefront mostly by a Twitter storm rather than the mainstream media channels. So, what do you think about how the mainstream media channels have actually taken a backseat in such cases, and social media, which is mostly used by the youth and the aged persons, are coming into contact with such incidents?
So let me give you a backdrop of what is Sully and Bully deal, what happened. So in 2021, around the time of Eid, so Pakistan celebrated a day before India. And on social media, the Muslim women of Pakistan, or the women of Pakistan, they had put their photograph because that's what social media is for. A handle called Liberal Dog, run by, I believe, once Ritesh Jha, was held a long YouTube show rating these women on their physical features. After that, there was a outrage on social media. 3-4 women who were at the forefront of these outrage, they were targeted on Twitter. One of them being Congress social media in charge, Hasiba Amin. I assisted Hasiba in filing of the FIR. An FIR was filed, no action was taken. None at all. No one was arrested, nothing. After that comes the festival of Eid al-Azha. And around that time, photographs of Indian Muslim women were put on GitHub on a website called Sully Deals. And they were purportedly, ostensibly auctioned off. Obviously, it was not auction in the sense where the person was transferred. But this was commodification of women, of specifically Muslim women. And FIRs were filed. I assisted a friend again in filing an FIR in Noida. A suo motu FIR was filed on the direction of NCW in Delhi. No action was taken again. And the fact that no action was taken emboldened these people. And while you and I were celebrating a new year after a very painful year, there were people who were building websites to sell these women again. This time, more women in the name of bully buy. These Sulli, bully, this is very degrading term that is used for Muslim women. And what happened was that this time a woman from Mumbai, she decided to fight it out. She said enough is enough. She filed an FIR. And it took Mumbai police to awaken Delhi police in this action. Mumbai police took prompt action, arrested the accused persons. That got Delhi police also in action. They also arrested few people. After that, there was similar incident on Clubhouse, and there were arrest again fetishization of Muslim women and their body parts. And it took, and I congratulate, because I'm speaking to students in Mumbai, I congratulate Mumbai police and the state government for very prompt action. And that has shut down this whole operation. So this is what my point is. I'll come to the media part later. But this point is very necessary, that where the state is willing to stop a crime from happening again or happening at all, the crime will not happen. It's as simple as that. State has all the resources. It inspired the Mumbai police to act on it. And this whole operation has come to standstill. It also signifies that system works. You should just know how to make it work. That is why I'm sometimes targeted by oppressed communities only on social media, also because I talk about system. I talk about due process. But I also know even though, there's a hopelessness, it is this system, it is this law only that will eventually, change things. So now coming on the second part of your question, the media has remained silent on most of the atrocities against Muslims. They remained silent largely on lynchings until unless there was a social media outrage. Matter of fact, what has happened is that the news is dead. Now the news is what is happening on social media, what people are saying on social media. And everything is centered around that. They are good journalists, they are good anchors, no doubt about that. And I cannot take away anything from them. But this is what news has become. It takes social media outrage. It took social media outrage against lynching for the media houses to awaken to this problem. And media houses on the Sulli and Sulli deal, they remain silent. Most of them, mainstream media. On Bullibai, they started speaking when there were arrests. And newspapers like the Hindu tried to whitewash their crime, saying he was a loner, or she lost her parents, or she was disturbed, or he was just 21, or he was just 18, and he was angry. None of that is an excuse to commit a crime as disgusting as this. We all face problems. We don't go selling women. So there is a need for de-radicalization. De-radicalization in the media, de-radicalization of a very large section of society now. And it's very unfortunate that I'm saying a large section of society. I'm willing to believe that the last section is still sane. I want to believe that. But those voices need to be strengthened. Those voices need to be louder. The same voices need to get louder now. Because obviously the one who is causing destruction has the loudest voice. So media's silence, and media has not been silent, it has been complicit. There has been a degradation, and it happened very fast. It was not an eventual degradation. It just happened in the snap of a finger, like Thanos did something. But that's what happened. And they are complicit, they are partners in this. And there's a law against that. We have filed petitions after petitions before NBSA because there is an authority for this. Then NBSA is a authority of a media run by media persons. The max they can do is penalize or ask for an apology. We even went to courts. We are in Supreme Court in the Sudarshan matter. We are filing a petition against the oath in Chhattisgarh. But I mean, in last 1 month, a certain journalist called some Chopra has run 37 news with Islamophobic agenda, with Islamophobic titles, just putting a question mark after a dastardly statement. So this is what has happened. And the media is not silent, media is complicit in all this. Yes, sir.
So after the media comes the social media. So in general, Twitter gets divided into two parts, where one, they further a lot of propaganda, and the other just brings about awareness to counteract it. So what is the role of social media in uncovering such problematic situations, or does it also play a role in furthering the problems, like how Sully deals and Bully Bai were also the women were auctioned off on Twitter? So the use of social media was also used to perpetuate crimes like this. So what is the overall role of social media in this?
See, I'm very split on my judgment on social media, because on one hand, it is a very dark place. It is a very dark place. I mean, it will give you anxiety, especially Twitter. I'm very active on Twitter, and it will give you anxiety. It will give you depression to see whatever is happening. But on the other hand, if not for social media, we would not even have known of many such incidences. And Twitter especially, I mean, I've thought of leaving the platform so many times, but I stick to it because during the second wave, I think Twitter saved thousands of lives. Social media saved thousands of lives. People went beyond their call of duty, went beyond their religion and everything to help other people. There was hateful conduct even in this, all that was happening, but that was a minimal. And at that time, I am really proud of the fact that humanity actually came together to help others. And it happened through Twitter, it happened through social media. Like, for example, my organization is the Civil Liberty Organization, Indian Civil Liberties Union. It does not work in the disaster management or relief work or anything like that. But in the first wave, we, through our resources and everything, we helped thousands to reach home from Mumbai, from Ahmedabad, from Pune, to Calcutta and other places, and Bihar, UP. But in second wave, because there was a lot of unverified information of resources that was available. So my organization came together and actually came together on their own without any instruction from me. We had close to 200 volunteers at that time, and we started verifying the information. So any information on say if there was a requirement of oxygen, if it was on social media, we would first call on that number and verify. And we started putting that on Telegram channel. And the moment we used to put on Telegram channel, within 10 seconds, it would be on Twitter through someone or the other must have posted it. So social media is also a place that has helped a lot of people. It has given recognition to a lot of people, including myself. I'll include myself in that. But yes, there are elements, and you ask the question whether it furthers it or prevents it. Things have changed as far as my analysis of Twitter is concerned. In the last couple of years, before that, it was like a fiefdom of the right wing, the ultra right wing and the bigoted views. But there has been a solid pushback in the last couple of years. And that pushback has actually prevented a lot of incident of hate, has curtailed a lot of rumors, has helped people. And therefore, like for example, the right-wing propaganda is not as strong on Twitter as it is on Facebook and WhatsApp. Because that's where those on the side resisting them, those who I call are sane people, or those from the marginalized communities and identities, are pushing back on Twitter, but they're absent. They don't have those resources to push on Facebook or WhatsApp. So social media overall, I think there is requirement for a little control. Then, content such as Sulli Deal and Bullibai should not find a place on any platform. And there is a need for a little control, but that has to be in coherence with the freedom of speech and expression. It has to be balanced very delicately. That control has to be balanced. Sorry, yes, okay.
So your responses are quite insightful. And I would also finally like to say that there were a lot of instances of lynching where most of the times the victims are from the minority. And there's no doubt that such lynching cases are a result of communal disharmony. As we know that you were involved in the drafting of the Manav Suraksha Kanun, which has been the basis for a lot of judgments and laws related to mob lynching. So what was your experience like while drafting this model law? And did you have to face any hardships? So could you just share your experience?
All right. So basically, around 2016, 2017, a bunch of young politicians, members of civil society, educationists, lawyers came together because if you will recall, at that time there was lynching almost every single day. One incident or one or the other incident of lynching everywhere. So before we come to this, even before that, I had filed 3 petitions through 3 petitioners One was Tehseen Poonawalla. The other was Martin McWan, who is a Dalit activist and a very fierce militant secularist. And one Mohan Bhai Hamir Bhai Bedwa, again a Dalit who was a victim of lynching in before 2014 in Gujarat. So through them we filed 3 petitions, and those petitions were pending. Notice had been issued. There were arguments that were going on. Meanwhile, the incidents were not stopping. So this bunch came together, and under the leadership of Mr. Sanjay Hegde, senior advocate, a drafting committee was constituted. I was part of that drafting committee. It was a 3 people drafting committee, including Mr. Sanjay Hegde and my colleague Pranjal. And we drafted a model law. And one of the very salient feature of that model law was the personal liability of the IAS and IPS of that district. The idea behind it was that when there is a personal liability on these officers, then they will do everything in their command to control such violence. So we started with the social media campaign. We started visiting places. We started holding small meetings on this issue. A private member bill was also introduced in Lok Sabha, but nothing came out of it. And the group also disbanded soon after. But while the hearing was going on in the Supreme Court, on the penultimate day of hearing, Mr. Sanjay Hegde passed this model law as guidelines to the then Chief Justice Deepak Mishra. And Justice Deepak Mishra was among the good judges. He was someone who understood what this was doing to the nation. And Supreme Court, overall, I mean, there has been disappointments, but overall still has sense on how to control things. He took that model law and Supreme Court passed it as a guideline in its judgment and asked the central government to pass a law on this. That has not been done. There was one meeting in which we were called. There was cabinet secretary level meeting in which we were called because we had drafted the model law, and the court has asked in the state to be in that they hear us. And after that, nothing happened. The government, I mean, the second time this government had come, home minister changed everything, but the law was not passed. Eventually, in Manipur, Rajasthan, West Bengal, and now Jharkhand, they passed law against lynching. However, the governor decided to send these bills to the president for his signature, for his assent, and the president has till date not given assent to these laws. So today, the law against lynching is the guideline that the Supreme Court has passed, and in absence of a statute on that, it remains the law of the land, a judge-made law. So that guideline, I believe, because I mean, I will be praising my own work if I say it's absolutely amazing, but it is. It is because first, it is divided in 3 parts. One is prevention, the other is punishment, and the third is rehabilitation. So it takes from the prevention. It says that wherever there is an incident of hate speeches, the police has to take action. When I say that there is a law against hate speech, it is this and not IPC, because IPC has been used so much for any speech that has lost its teeth, 153A. But this one has a better mechanism. This guidelines has better mechanism. There was instruction to the central and the state government to publicize on radio and television that lynching is a crime, should not be done. I'm sure none of you have heard on any radio channel or TV. The contempt regarding this remains pending. And when this model law was passed, there was a brief lull in the incidents of lynching. It eventually, what happened after that led to formation of ICLU. But there was a brief lull in the incidents of lynching. because there was a law, because there was some action that was being taken. And when the law works, all these incidents will stop. And because that guideline put personal responsibility of the DM and the SSP of the district or the SHO of that police station, that if such incident happened in their area under their jurisdiction, they will be personally liable for criminal action as well as departmental action. So that brought these incidents to a stop. However, since September 2018, this matter remains pending in Supreme Court, has not been given any effective hearing. There are many contempt applications that has been filed. There have been attempts at opening the hearing of this matter, but to no avail till date. So now when the courts, and this is the most fundamental part of everything, Supreme Court is a sentinel QE of the Constitution. Courts are the custodian of Constitution. It is their duty to enforce it. They are the protector of the Constitution as well. But if the courts look other way, if they don't do what they have to do, what happens then? Because then there is no one to protect the Constitution or enforce the Constitution. When the Constitution cannot be enforced, does a state remain a democracy or a republic? It doesn't. Because at the core of the democratic idea, at the core of the republican idea is that Constitution. And that Constitution is protected by the courts. So the most important job in a democracy to protect democracy is of the court. No other wing has that responsibility. No other pillar of the democracy has that responsibility as much as courts. And when the courts go silent, that's when you and I should be really scared. When the courts look the other way, when the courts start passing judgments based on emotions rather than law, rather than facts, then you and I should be very scared, because this never ends well. This never ends well. Yes.
I think I would be speaking on behalf of everyone when I say that all your responses were very enlightening and have brought a new, or at least a shift in perspective in how we view things around us. I would now open the floor for questions from the viewers, the NSS team, and our dignitaries. If anyone has a question, then I think you could either put it in the chat box or I think unmute yourself and ask.
Anas, allow me to
Yes.
ask you a question, and thank you for your insights. Currently, there are a bunch of students in Udupi who are not allowed to enter the classrooms because they are wearing hijab. What the principal, when questioned, she had to say that this is not a part of their uniform. She meant the hijab is not a part of their uniform. And I have not seen this where I grew up, even in Maharashtra. It will never happen in Maharashtra. And I know that, and I'm very proud of that. But it breaks my heart to see this happening in other parts of the country. As an advocate for women's rights and children's rights, it baffles me that nobody is talking about how this is coming in the way of the right to education and how no action is still being taken. What do you think about it? What can we do about it?
See, I got in touch with the stakeholders in this matter as well. And these women have put up a resistance. These girls, not even when these girls, these young girls have put up a resistance so strong that they are ready to forego their education for their right to wear that hijab. And it's their fundament, it's their right. They have the choice to wear that. And matter of fact, they are right on the point of law as well. I have seen the state law. I've seen the rules of that because it's a government college, and it does not have the power to regulate the uniform or regulate what the students are wearing. So what is happening there is just simple bigotry. and it is happening under the pressure of Hindutva organizations who staged girls to wear hijab, and it is impinging on their right to education. It is impinging on their right to life and liberty. It is impinging on their choices, and hopefully soon a legal action will be taken in this matter.
Thank
I
you,
hope that
Anas.
answers your question,
It,
Sonali.
it does. It does. One thing that I would like all the participants to think about is whether any student would be asked to remove her bindi before entering a classroom if it was a Hindu student, because it doesn't make a part of the uniform. So, we really have to think about it from this different perspectives. I'm really thankful to you, Anas.
Thank you, Sonali. I don't think there are any more questions.
If we do not have any more questions, I think we can wait for another minute if people do have any more questions, or else we can go ahead with Ruchi ma'am giving the vote of thanks. But I think we can wait for another minute or so.
Yes, we can wait.
Because
we can wait. And I really want to add something. See, whatever the questions that were asked to me, I mean, by you, Akhil, and the responses, I am not actually very comfortable ending things on a, alarming note. But the problem is that it is the reality. And we are not in a position where we can sugarcoat realities. सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा, yes, but हिंदुस्तान में क्या हो रहा है, we need to talk about that. We need to talk about what is happening in the country. And yet I will say, after all of this, after everything that the community, the marginalized Muslims have faced, the marginalized identities have faced, I have personally faced, yet the faith in constitutions remain unshaken. The CA, you see the CA protest, you take that for example, it was against a law. But I was very actively involved in many of these sites, and I was holding classes on CA and NRC for the women protesters, and I would see young kids, very young, holding a flag and running around, the chants of Bharat Mata Ki Jai or Jai Hind for that matter, and each and everything. So we have to fight this. We have to fight this poison. But the only way to fight this poison or the only counter to this poison is the constitution. And we today have to celebrate this constitution that our founding fathers gave to us, that they had the vision. They had the vision to see what could go wrong and give a remedy for that. But a constitution will become a dead letter if those alive today do not keep it near their heart, do not fight for it. So let's take the questions.
Yes, sir. So there have been 3 questions asked in the chat box. I'll go ahead with the first one. I think this is a burning question in everyone's head, that in what way can we make a change in society?
First of all, I'm just guessing here that quite a few of your family members might also be inclined towards the right-wing ideologies. Talk to them. That is the first step you have to take. First, look inside your houses. Talk to your parents, because it's not that they are bad or anything. It's just that they don't know how to find that distinction between a fake news, between a rumor and a real story. They don't know how to make distinction between historical facts and manufactured historical facts. Things on internet, I mean, because they belong to the generation that got internet a little late, that became familiar or comfortable with internet and technology a little late. They're still getting the hang of it. You and I will look at a post and realize that, oh, it's a fake news. There are indications for that. But not everyone can do that, first of all. The second, stop consuming hate. Shut down your TV. Shut down your news channels. Don't watch them. Don't watch the news channels that spread hate. You don't need that information. You don't need information that is loaded with communal innuendos. You don't need to see news that says, ये हमारे राम कहाँ से आ गए बाबर and all that thing. Okay, you don't need to see the news that talks about ki if Muslims are being selected in UPSC, then it is UPSC jihad. Or if two interreligious people are getting love, if falling in love, then this is love jihad. You don't need to watch this. You don't need to consume this for your own sanity and for the country, because once you as a consumer will stop consuming it, they will stop producing it, because then there will be no advantage in putting all this machinery behind. And verify every information. We all will have to become a fact checker, because there's an overload of information, an overload of fake information. So we all, one way or the other, will have to become a personal fact checker. And most importantly, have empathy. Recognize your privileges. As a man, recognize that you are a man, and listen to women if they are saying that marital rape is a crime, that it should not happen. Listen to them. You recognize your privilege. You need to understand that you have a duty towards others, while you also understanding that you are yourself a minority of one. Each one of us is a minority of one. This is something my guru, Mr. Sanjay Hegde, mentions a lot, that we all are a minority of one. Maybe a gender minority, I may be religious minority or racial minority or linguistic minority, but one way or the other, everywhere we are a minority of one. End of the day, we may not belong to one group or the other group, and so on and so forth. So start recognizing. That's the first step. And once you have recognized, then start countering it. Start writing. You have pen, and it's as cliche as it gets, but pen is mightier than sword every single time. You have the power of pen. You all are educated. You all are students. Start writing. Start countering. Once you start countering and you stop being the consumer, all of this will fade. And that is, I believe, in my understanding, one of the most important way to turn the tide of time around, to bring back our nation to where it was. And there were 1,000 problems with the nation, but it wasn't this bad. It wasn't this hateful. It wasn't this bigoted. People are ready to jump on each other's throat. You put a photograph of food on social media and people will bring politics and hate in it. So something has happened, something has gone wrong somewhere. We have started appreciating hate. There is no valor, there is no shore in hate. It never is. We are a land of Gandhi, and as cliche as it may sound, but we are a land of Mahatma Gandhi. The only system that will work for us is the system of Gandhi and Nehru. There is no other system that will work. Please appreciate that our forefathers were solid intellectuals. They considered every angle. They considered everything. Don't, think that your ancestors were dumb fools. They were not. They were smarter than you. Believe me, they were smarter than you. They understood the nuances. So have that nuanced understanding to begin with. And that's when you start countering things.
Oh, thank you, sir. There are a couple more questions in the chat box, and I think we can stop taking in more questions because we do not want to keep anyone for long, not sir and not all of you. So there's a question from Sandeep on can any institution, may it be private or government, make rules about uniforms which prohibit or hinder people from their right to wear something religious?
See, private institutions do have that kind of liberty because they are not a state. You cannot file a writ against them for enforcing of fundamental rights. So private universities may have uniform. Government universities may also, or college institutions may also have uniform, but that will have to come through bylaws. It has to come through rules. It has to be executed. I mean, an executive action, and it has to be passed. But they do have the power to do that. However, they don't have the power to prevent you from exercising your right to religion. It can be limited to asking you to dress decently or uniformly. The idea of uniform is that even the poor or the rich, they all look alike. They all dress alike, which is, I believe, a good idea. I liked school uniforms because everyone was equal. And when there was a period, like I remember there in Lucknow, I was studying in Lamatiya Boys, and there used to be a dengue outburst almost every year. So the school would say that you can wear long sleeve. I mean, apart from uniform, you can wear your other clothes. And I know there were kids who repeated almost every alternate days and were made fun of because they did not have those resources. Not everyone is rich. So yes, they have the right to have a uniform, but that cannot impinge on the fundamental right. It's as simple as that. No action of any state or non-state can impinge on your fundamental rights.
I see Dr. Anand raising his hand. So, sir, you can unmute and
Yes.
see.
Anand sir, I have sent you. Okay, you're unmuted. Okay.
Yeah. मैं तनवीर साहब के साथ राजी हूं कि यूनिफॉर्म अगर एक स्कूल या कॉलेज रखना चाहता है उसमें कोई हर्ज नहीं है। जैसा उन्होंने बहुत अच्छा कहा कि कोई गरीब भी हो सकता है, तो वो अगर सब एक जैसा है तो दैट्स परफेक्टली ऑलराइट। क्वेश्चन उठता है, जो सवाल उठा हिजाब के बारे में। अब मुझे लगता है कि हिजाब जैसे अगर कोई पहनना चाहता है शुड बी अलाउड। कल को ये लोग बोलेंगे अखिल को कि अखिल तुमको इसका हेयर स्टाइल ठीक नहीं है, इसको बदलो। लड़की ने एक लंबा बाल रखा, ये ठीक नहीं है। किसी लड़की ने दूसरे स्टाइल का हेयर स्टाइल रखा, ये ठीक नहीं है। आई थिंक वहां पे ज्यादती हो रही है और उसके खिलाफ हमको आवाज उठानी चाहिए, लेकिन लोगों को समझा के, जिस तरह तनवीर साहब ने समझाया है।
सर शुक्रिया सर, आदाब। And I mean, there is no disagreement with what Dr. Anand has just said. I mean, that's how it should be. We need to be, familiar. We need to recognize our social identities as well. We need to understand that we are not a country of rich. There are people who come from every economic strata and they have equal right to that education that I as a privilege am getting. So, and it happens. I mean, school mein birthday pe, you get the right, you used to get key, or you can wear your home or the party wear. So it was a show off that day. I mean, we were all participating in it, but not everyone had. I mean, there were times when I met a schoolmate outside my school back as a kid in, say, a wedding function. I come from Banaras, and I was born there, and I spent my childhood there. And in the area we lived, there was a lot of economic, disparity. But yet a lot of us studied together in the same school or roamed around in the same social circle. For some reason, there was not much discrimination. I did not see that discrimination, and I understand I come from a privileged position, but there was no discrimination against those who were not so privileged. So I used to see like my schoolmates come wearing the school shoes, or my less privileged cousin come to visit us wearing a school uniform, because that was perhaps the only good clothes they had, because uniform was mandatory, they had to get that. So their father could save only that much money, and we need to be aware of these social realities as well. So yes, I'm just agreeing with what Dr. Anand has said here, adding to it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Anand. It's always lovely to hear you. Oh, you have anything more to add?
नहीं, एक सवाल उठा था अबाउट लव जिहाद.
अच्छा,
वो बड़ा अच्छा होगा तनवीर साहब उसके बारे में भी कुछ बोले, क्योंकि ये शख्स ने 62 साल पहले, 62 years ago, I married a Christian girl from Kerala, and the whole world knows how a happy marriage we all had, how much together we could contribute to society, and not only in India, throughout the world. So बहुत अच्छा लगेगा अगर तनवीर साहब ये जो लव जिहाद का चक्कर शुरू हुआ है उसके बारे में थोड़ा सा कुछ बताएं, क्योंकि किसी ने इसके बारे में सवाल पूछा था.
So as I asked and someone else also asked, love jihad is a bogey. It's just a bogey. It's nothing else. I mean, those who live all their life in hate will obviously be affected by love. They can't see love. They don't know what love is. They only know hate. So they will hate on anything that gives them happiness, or see if they see anyone else happy. This love jihad bogey reached its pinnacle in the Hadia case in Supreme Court. And very unfortunate that Supreme Court was ready to hear that matter. So Hadia cases that Hadia was a Hindu, a Keralite Hindu, who married a Muslim, and before marriage she converted to Islam. Now her parents filed cases and they were separated. And High Court, in a very unfortunate judgment, indicated towards ISIS and other stuff, and that, oh, there's a conspiracy against Hindu and Christian women in Kerala. The matter came to Supreme Court. Hadia was called at least thrice before the judges. And before judges, that small, frail girl stood strong with her head held high, wearing that hijab, saying, no, I love this person. I married him through my own free will. The love won that day. She's with her husband. She's now, I believe, a doctor as well. And love won that day. But politicians need this. They need a bogey. I mean, recently, last week in MP, two friends, the girl was a Hindu, the boy was a Muslim, were traveling together. The boy was beaten, pulled out of train, and now an FIR has been filed against the boy. This was done by vigilantes. This was done by some Sena something. And no action has been taken against them. They took law in their hand. There's a law against, there's a judgment. This lynching judgment is against vigilantism. It's against mob violence. It's not just against cow lynching, it is against mob violence. And yet, no action was taken against them. And after that, I was speaking to two of my friends, and both to Hindus, both female, and I've traveled extensively with them for competitions, for each other, for friends' wedding, anything. I was mostly the chaperone. But today, I will be scared to do that. And this has no basis at all. There is no data that supports this bogey. I mean, if you cannot stop love, love transcends religion, love transcends gender, love transcends everything. There's no limitation on that. And to put a legal restriction on that, there are laws against love jihad in UP and other BJP states. They are pending in Himachal. It was struck down as well by the High Court. But today in quite a few states, it's the law. I have a right to to convert to any religion. That's my fundamental right. I have a right to marry anyone I want or not marry anyone I want, and that is also my right. No one, no vigilante group, no organization, no government has any say on that. It is my right. It was my right the moment I was born. It was my right as a privilege. It is a right that I have being Indian. And so this is all, most of the things that come from the right-wing quarter is mostly bogey, because they need to create an enemy. They need to create that atmosphere where, because where else will they get their votes? They get power from that, and everyone wants power. वो उत्तर प्रदेश में we say कि there's a word called वर्चस्व, dominance, hegemony. So वर्चस्व की लड़ाई है, सारी लड़ाई उसी हेजेमनी, उसी पावर की है, और ये सब उसी का एक हिस्सा है. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you so much, sir. So due to paucity of time, I've been asked that this would be the last question, and I would request Ruchi ma'am to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Akhil. Before starting with the official speech of vote of thanks, I would like to speak my heart out because 2 weeks before, me, my colleague Raj and Sonali, we were discussing कि यार ये देश में ये हरिद्वार वाली जो भी बातें हुई है, नींद नहीं आ रही है, कुछ तो करना चाहिए. Let's plan a webinar so that at least we can make students aware कि भाई ये reality है. And within a minute, Sonali suggested me कि yes, we must invite Advocate Tanveer sir. He speaks so well and all. And within a week, sir accepted our invitation, and I was like the happiest person कि I'll be doing a webinar on this topic. On the point when webinar started, I was the happiest कि everything is going planned, everything perfect. And when I was attending this webinar on my screen, it's me, Tanveer sir, Anand sir, and Akhil. I am seeing all these 4 people on my screen right now. And the point when Tanveer sir was speaking, I just realized that on 15th of August last year, we had a webinar on communal harmony with the same college, and Dr. Anand sir was speaking in that webinar. And at that point मेरी सारी जो खुशी थी ना वो एकदम से साइड में हो गई कि उस वक्त हम लोग क्या प्रमोट कर रहे थे कि make at least one friend who is not from your religion, who is not from your caste. These were the messages which Dr. Anand was trying to spread, and see where we are today and what मतलब ये webinar, ये topic मुझे frame करना पड़ा is not लाइक एक खुशी वाली बात नहीं है ये अभी मेरे लिए कि इस बात पे चर्चा करनी पड़ रही है हमें. दिस इज द हार्श रियलिटी विच वी आर फेसिंग टुडे. एंड थोड़ी सी सेटिस्फेक्शन है कि एटलीस्ट आज जो भी 100 लोग यहाँ पे है वो ये नया थॉट लेके जाएंगे. आई होप सो. To officially begin with the speech of vote of thanks, I would like to thank firstly we the people of India who gave us this constitution on this day, the Republic Day. Next, I would like to thank Gayatri Agarwal ma'am, who is the program manager or program officer of NSS unit of Hinduja College, Shehnaz ma'am, principal ma'am of Hinduja College, and all the NSS volunteers who were like, yes ma'am, we are ready to collaborate with you on 26 Jan, bolo kya event karna hai. So this is my team which is always ready to work with me on this webinar. I would like to express my heartful gratitude to Advocate Tanveer sir for literally speaking your heart out, sir. Thank you so much. And thank you, Dr. Anand sir, for attending this webinar. It means a lot to us. For you, because communal harmony is something जो हम आपसे सीख रहे हैं, and आप अभी ये बढ़ा रहे हैं, ये सारी ये जो सोच है वो आप आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं. I would like to thank Akhil for coordinating this webinar, and at the end I would like to thank Sonali for connecting this link between Tanveer sir and PCGT, and last but not the least, all the participants of this webinar. Thank you so.
Thank you, Ruchi.
The link for attendance is being provided in the chat box. So I would request participants to fill the feedback form and request the participants of NSS unit to stay in meet. And I would also request to participants to turn off their camera for capture a beautiful moment. Thank you.
Madhav, can we leave now?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I'll just click
Thank
up.
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
so much, Soren ma'am.